Hello, my name's Dave Suckling and you're watching another episode of Fresh Off the Press English. Today we're talking about coral reefs. It's Friday the 14th of September 2018. The news comes from Motherjones. The news is about scientists who have discovered a new, unknown, giant coral reef under the ocean, deep underwater off the coast of America. Never before did they know it was here, so it's a very important discovery for many biologists. Very excited about this. Let's look at the headline. Scientists discover giant deep-sea coral reef off Atlantic coast. Coral reef. Coral reef. Now, a coral reef is the beautiful, like plants, stones, like plants, but also like stones. The beautiful, colourful, stony plants that we see underwater. Many fish swimming around them. Those are coral reefs. Very beautiful. They're actually very small animals that have all built together to make these wonderfully colourful and beautiful structures, these things that they build. Coral reefs. Some 160 miles off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina, a half mile below the ocean surface, is a dense forest of cold water corals. Dense. Dense. Now, if something is dense, it means there's a lot of it in a small space. So here we're talking about a dense forest of corals, meaning all of the corals are very close together. There's so many of them, all right next to each other. Many, all in a very small space, very crowded, dense. And based on their observations and recent sonar mapping of the ocean floor, researchers estimate that the reef runs for at least 85 linear miles. Observations. Observations. To observe something is to look at it, to see it. So observations means what the scientists have seen. They have seen this, or they have discovered this. They have observed it, what they have seen. Sonar. Sonar. A sonar is when we use sound to send out and it bounces back, and then we are able to see a picture of what is underwater. We use sonar, which is a sound which bounces back again, and then we can see where we normally couldn't see using sound. Sonar. Linear. Linear. A linear means in a straight line. So they're saying the reef, the coral reef, runs for 85 straight miles. 85 linear miles. Linear. The live corals are growing atop giant mounds of rubble. The skeletal remains of coral colonies that have been growing in the same area for millennia. Mounds. Mounds. Now a mound is just like a hill, just lots of stuff all on top of each other, making a kind of hill. We can call that a mound. Just lots of stuff on top of each other makes a mound. Skeletal. Skeletal. Now here we're talking about the remains of old corals. So just the skeleton of the old corals. So, like I said, coral is a small animal, and what it does is it builds these skeletons. And when the coral dies, the skeleton is left there still. We call this the skeletal remains. So the new coral grows on top of the old coral, the skeletal remains. Millennia. Millennia just means thousands of years. It's been in the same area for millennia. Been in the same area for thousands of years. Millennia. Let's look at the words from today's lesson. Coral reef. Coral reef. Dense. Dense. Observations. Observations. Sonar. Sonar. Mounds. Mounds. Skeletal. Skeletal. Millennia. Millennia. Write down these words and remember them. Very useful words when talking about coral reefs, talking about things under the water using sonar and observations, scientists looking at things. Very useful words. Write them down and remember them. What a great story. Just goes to show that we don't really know much about our own planet. If they can discover something so huge that they didn't know was there before, it really makes you think, makes me think there's a lot of things that we don't really know. And in some ways that's a great hope, because the opportunity to discover something new is a great feeling, I believe. I like to live in a world of mystery. Keep on finding new things. Keep on making new ideas. Thank you for watching this episode of Fresh Off the Press English. I hope I can see you again tomorrow for another interesting news story from around the world. As always, don't be bored, be busy.